Hi, my name is Maria,
I'm Julian.
and we're the owners of La Plancha. We've been here in East Austin for about 3 years, and we're here to serve the Austin community the best tortas in town.
You know, I think I told y'all early on. I found y'all because of Ali. Ali, if you're watching this, thanks because it was a great recommendation.
Hi, Ali.
And one of the things he told me about y'all were from the Valley. That was one of the first ways we started the conversation. So then when I came and I tried the food, it was delicious. It was awesome. Definitely took me back home, which is something that I always miss when I'm in Austin. You know what I mean? Because you know how Valley food is.
Yeah.
Delicious. Not the way Austin. I mean, Austin has good food, but
It's got a different sazon.
completely different. So anytime I get to try like authentic, Mexican food, my heart is always excited. My wife is exactly the same way. She's like, anytime we go to Brownsville, it's like, oh, we get to eat the good stuff,
Yeah.
So how long have y'all been in the hospitality industry?
I joined the hospitality industry at 15 years old. I am going to be 32 this summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess since a young age, my first industry job was at a McDonald's.
Okay.
Inside of Walmart. So I was a register girl, and then I also sold popcorn and pickles in the little carrito that they had there. And then after that, I finally got into a formal restaurant called Toscafino.
Okay.
It's a little Italian restaurant down there, and that's where I got my experience to apply culinary school.
Is that in downtown?
That is in kind of like, I want to say like Upper Brownsville, like call it Midtown, if you will.
Okay.
It's by Pablo Quisel, and it's been there for so many years by the mall.
Yeah.
By the
Okay.
mall.
I was like,
Everything in the mall.
I was like, it sounds familiar, and I
Yeah.
could see the sign in my head.
Yeah, and it's been there for years. It's I guess you could say it's one of Brownsville's staples as far as like date nights and like Italian food. They have great pizza. I learned a lot there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Julie?
I'm 15 years too.
Wow.
So together, Maria and I have 30 years. Me being from Western New York, my first job was Burger King.
Hey, there you go.
McDonald's and Burger King, respectively. I was a Whopper board guy.
Representing the Big Mac.
Exactly. Yeah. And back then I wouldn't stop calling Burger King until they gave me a job. I just needed to work.
Yep.
And I called them for like 10 days straight, and they finally said, "All right, we'll give this guy a try." So that's where I started. Worked in a couple different restaurants. I actually started at back of house, so I had a very strong passion for culinary and cooking, and went to graduated trade school in Western New York. I felt like there was more to do, so I left Buffalo, New York, and came to Austin about almost 11 years now.
Wow.
Continuing my education. We'll get more, I guess, a little bit later on the specifics. But I started back of house, and then when I met Maria, that's where I was like, wow, she's the best cook and chef in this kitchen.
There you go.
And if she's the bar, I need to maybe switch it up. And also organically felt that I had a little bit more love of more operational and talking and working with guests specifically. So I started to shift kind of my strengths and what I was good at a little more to front of house and ops based, and a little less culinary. Just because when you have a teammate that's so strong as she is, it's better for one of us to get kind of more seasoned in that area as well.
1,000%. That's
so
kind of the way me and my wife are as well.
Yeah.
She does a lot of the operations and stuff when it comes to our business. Sadly, I'm the face.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I want her to be the face. She's more than gladly she's the
exactly.
face.
That's the way she is. She's like, my wife is
Yeah.
very introverted, not like, so it's like, you go, you do what you do best. I do what I do best.
No,
I love that. So
for sure.
How did y'all meet? Was it in Austin?
Yeah.
Yes, we met at Second Bar and Kitchen.
Downtown.
Hey,
The original
representing.
OG. Shout out, Second Bar.
We met at a March of Dimes event, like formally, I guess.
Formerly,
But we kind of saw each other here and there at the restaurant, in the kitchen.
I worked AM, she was PM.
Okay.
And I had noticed her before maybe she even noticed me, which is fine.
I didn't know he worked there until that event.
So she dates back 2 months later than I actually met her, but that's all right. It's better for the story.
You don't know my name.
For me, I was, just 10 years ago. So I was, 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
And I was so fixated and focused on wanting to be a chef. So found a way to Second Bar, where we both work for David Bull, Chef David Bull, and New American Concept. That's where my passion was. I'm still, I love different cuisines, but I'm still a, steak, sprouts, macaroni and cheese guy. I'm not gonna lie to you on that. But so I wanted to be part of something elevated. So I found myself truthfully, and I'm not afraid to say this, I wasn't quite strong enough to get on the hotline at that time. So, but again, operationally, organization, I found a way to be a lead prep cook. So, oddly or not, I helped with that way in the AM, and then Maria, and she could talk about it. She was the strongest cook in the kitchen. For me, when I met Maria, I never had met someone like that. Guy from Western New York, strong Valley woman. I was like, man, who is that? And you can see skill when you see it. And she was the strongest cook then, but chef to be in the kitchen, I was drawn to her. And then like she said, we met at a second bar historically. I think it's a little bit less now. And now there are more events in Austin, a little bit more culinary event, like you're going there to cook. Not that there's not a great cause that they're doing, but I feel like 5-8 years ago there was more consistent charity events, and at the time Second Bar really did a lot of those, specifically downtown. So that time was specifically March of Dimes, who our boss and who we worked for. He was very passionate about that. So I was, Maria went there. I'll turn it over in a second. Maria went there as one of the strongest cooks to get us through to serve 500 people in a night. I went there because I helped build the production, and I said, okay, I'll do the double. I work AM and PM, right? And that's how we met.
And for me, I think, especially growing up in the Valley, and just again the Mexican culture, the Hispanic culture is very much like hospitality is in our blood. You know, and that's being from the coffee world. That was the thing that always gravitated me to coffee was when I would be, because I grew up with my grandparents, and so, my mom was around everything, but we lived with them. You know how it is, Mexican household, it's like 30 people in there.
Childhood, literally, raised by my grandma.
Exactly. So our grandparents raised us, and it was, and our mom was there, but we always had family over. Again, we're Catholic, so the Catholic tradition, everybody comes over, drinks coffee, has pan dulce and all that kind of stuff, right? So for me, coffee was just hospitality to the extreme, right? And so when I was able to pursue what I liked, I didn't know that was in my veins until I ended up realizing, like, oh yeah, man, like this is what was in my household all the time, right? And so as somebody who kind of acknowledged it, I ended up realizing that hospitality can be anywhere. Right?
Well said.
Right? It could be in the restaurant, it could be in the coffee shop, it could be, out when you're hanging out with friends. So when I started looking at hospitality that way, I fell in love with it more, because it wasn't just, oh, you need to come over to my house for me to treat you. I can do this anywhere and everywhere, right? So why did you stick with it, right? It's being from the Valley. Was there something you saw in the home? Was it a parent? Was it family members who you saw like, man, they were doing this, and it was just kind of that torch that ignited yours? Yeah,
it was my mom's mom, my grandma. It's exactly like you said. It's having that power of having people come over your house, and that safe space where people go take a break, re-energize, and all that good stuff. So my grandma was that for our family. I saw uncles, cousins like stop by at weird times of the day, but to eat, right? And my grandma always made tortillas de harina, flour tortillas, and she raised me from, I want to say maybe like 1 to 5 years old. I was with her a lot, and one of the things that she taught me was how to cook, how to make tortillas de harina. I would help her make the bollitos and sometimes extend them or put them over the comal, stuff like that. So I think my love for food started there. She planted that seed. Both sides of my family have always been about food and cooking, both my grandmas, but I hold her dear to my heart because I spent so much time with her as a little girl, and I definitely feel like that seed was planted there. And I was like, I want to be grandma when I grow up. I want to have that power. I want to have a house where people come and they just eat, and I'm just cooking and wearing my apron. I feel like I had those thoughts as a little girl, and as I grew up, I guess I started realizing that I could actually have a career with this, that I could make something for myself.
What made you realize that?
Well, my parents have always believed in higher
Okay,
education. They've always had me in private schooling. So I went to a college prep school.
Okay.
And there they always like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Where do you want to go to college? What do you want to do? So it was kind of like
Wow.
preparing you.
That is awesome.
And
That's awesome.
I hate school.
Yeah.
I don't like the traditional history, language, arts, math. Like I was a ABC student. I don't know how I passed, but I did. And I've always known that I love food, and I told my parents in 8th grade, I think like watching the Food Network really, I feel like that's with anybody.
Emeril Lagasse
For me was in a garden, and I was like, Jeffrey's such a lucky guy.
Yeah, that's true.
Like she goes to all these farms and like all these little places, and anyway, just watching that, I'm like, man, like I want to do that. I want to maybe not necessarily come out on TV, but like something related with food. And I told my parents, like, I think I want to be a chef. Like that's when like the chef word started like being a thing in my house. I think I it's a chef what I want to be. And my dad was like, no, like why would you want to do that? He knows the industry. He's had a taco stands in Monterrey and like sold micheladas in the Tigre Stadium and stuff like that. So like he knows what it was, and he was like, why would you want that for yourself? And I don't want that for yourself. But I think as like years went by and like he saw that I was really passionate about it, he was kind of like, okay, like this girl's serious. And that's how I got the job at Toscafino. Like the owner at the time of that restaurant knew my dad, and like he got me the job at 16 years old because like nobody would hire me on my own. Like who's this little girl with no skills? But my dad told them, hire her on the weekends, don't pay her, and let's see how long she'll last. Because my dad is like, she'll see what it is, and of course she won't want to be there.
So kind of like when hey, I catch you smoking a cigarette, smoke the whole pack.
More or less.
That type of parenting. And I didn't know at the time, but eventually that story like came out, and I was like, wow, he really did that. Damn. Like in my head, I was just like, I'm happy to be here, and I'm just gonna work and get my experience. And then eventually the owner was like, hey, we kind of have to pay her, and she won't leave. So the rest is history. I applied to the CIA, and then I got accepted, and I think my parents are my biggest fans now.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
Definitely the industry is not like, a rainbow and unicorns, especially for women, but I've had a great support system with my husband and my parents, and, just kind of look at all the negativity and put that aside and not focus on that and just keep doing myself regardless of whatever obstacles come my way,
Which is the way to do it.
Yeah.
So what about you? Like, where did your passion for food start from?
I would say my uncle raised me. For him, making dinner every night, and he's a damn good cook. He instilled that into me. It's a big piece of family. It's a good place of community. For me, it's what I liked about hospitality and culinary or front of house or service as a whole. It's the different things you can do in a certain job. It's very broad of what your day is how your day is gonna go down. And for example, even running the Plancha, I may come in to help support, front of house, but I just did maybe what would be 3 or 4 different roles, right? And that's always been drawn to me, being able to do different things. We both of us like to be around people. So to be part of just a really great experience is important to us. That drives me in terms of making sure that people enjoy their experience that they had, and that's just kind of I've been drawn to that. My mind's always constantly moving. I'm someone that I'm present, I'm listening, but I'll be honest with you, I'm still thinking about tomorrow and what we need to do. Sometimes that's a good thing and a bad thing.
Which is why you're in operations.
Yeah, exactly. My wife will be like, are you here right now? I'm here, but I'm thinking about tomorrow. And so that's what I've been drawn to. I might come help clean the facilities. I also might be on the hotline and help Chef Maria sling out some tortas, right? So that's been more than anything a love of mine, but the personal love and gain that I've gotten from me to be able to do so many different things on a daily basis and yearly basis, that's been my passion.
Yeah, which is great, because then that allows you, especially I'm kind of almost the same way. I love being busy.
Sure.
So if I have time to like be bored, I'm like, what am I doing right now?
Yes,
Like,
agreed.
Like something's wrong.
Yeah.
No, I just like, and even that's just me.
I think that is almost like a true sign of somebody who is in the hospitality business, right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I first started working at a coffee or at Mozart's, the girl that I was working with, you know, I'm a new hire, and she's like, doesn't know me, doesn't know anything about me. So she was always kind of like, I don't want to work with this guy,
Yeah.
just whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it was more mainly because she was used to her morning shifts, right?
Yeah.
So then one day she was like, "Can I leave you by yourself? I'm registered. I need to go do my makeup, XYZ." And I was like, "Yeah, go for it."
Yeah.
So she ends up like looking over to see if I'm okay. There's a line out the door, but I'm doing POS, steamy milk, pulling shot, this and that. And she was like, "Okay." And then like after everything died, she was ready. She's like, "You're actually pretty good." And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this for like almost 10 years now. I just told her about myself. But it's like multitasking to me is one of the best things in the world.
More than anything, there's just the level, and that's like the awkward. That was a pre-awkwardness of not knowing how people work and what they do, especially if they start new. But more than more in hospitality and restaurants or in whatever, to be able to see a teammate or coworker, like I call it being the fire or slang, if you will, and then seeing how they act or work during that, that's such a crucial piece of camaraderie and teamwork. Because until you see that person work as hard as you are, it's hard to build that trust, right? An example, like you just said, she stepped away. She's like, "Oh, okay, see if the guy can handle it." You killed it, and she's like, "All right, this guy's not a bad guy."
Which is why, like, I understood, right? Like, I'm always somebody who thinks to myself, you shouldn't expect anything from me because you don't know me, right? So it's like, and I don't mind if I have to prove myself.
Yeah,
to you,
like let me show you.
It's like I've had to do that my entire life. Right? I'm a short guy. I've always had to prove myself in so many ways. So it's like, I get it. Like you shouldn't just be like, "Oh, well, you exist. Let me give you," right? It's like, no, I've had to work for everything I have, so I'm okay with that. But then I also love, after that, it was just like, she just wanted me on shift all the time because then we're walking out with almost $100 tips each every single day.
That's good for barista. For sure.
And it's exactly.
It's a good barista day,
dude. It was like there'd be times where I'm like, I didn't know what to do with all, and that's how I got into cameras because I had so much money from tips and other stuff. Where I'm like,
I got 8 hours to go still.
I'm like, man, let me buy gear and and then at Mozart's, at Mozart's, they're like, "Hey, you're always doing stuff on your phone, taking pictures. Like, can you run our social?" So I started running their social, and then they paid me more because of that.
Got it.
So then I invested in cameras, and then it was like, I moved to Austin to be a coffee roaster.
Got it. Okay.
But then cameras paid way more, so I was like, "Well, shoot, let me just stay with this."
Yeah. Okay.
So, but it was that. It was like, I'm willing to show you that I'm a hard worker, so that like when shit does hit the fan, you're not afraid to call me and be like, "Hey." And then those are the people who I've always loved working with. Where it's like they're ready to pick up the phone when you're on a call, and I think in the hospitality industry, that's like my favorite people to find are the people who are willing to do that. Like, call me when things are burning down because I want to help and I want to do these things. And so what has been, kind of with what you were saying earlier, like what has been a struggle or something that you've had to overcome in the pursuit of, entrepreneurship and making your own business? Because, I mean, again, I'm in the same boat as y'all. Like, I run my own business, I do my own thing. And putting out fires is 50, 60, sometimes 70% of the job. So what were some things that you had to face that you overcame that you're just like now looking back being like, man, we got over that hump, we got over that one? And the reason I ask that is because I feel like that's one of the hardest parts of entrepreneurship is people get knocked down, and then after so many hits, you just don't want to get back up. But it's the getting up that gets you to where you want to be. So what are some of those stories?
The pre-opening, right?
I mean,
to get there before. I mean, there's a whole story
every
before
day
that.
of La Plancha. No,
Every single day.
Exactly.
Every single day.
I think any business that doesn't say that, there's so many businesses and business owners that I've talked to from like, Michelin star restaurants to the best barbecue spots here in Austin. That's exactly, it's like, and even what you said, every single day is something different.
There's always something.
I mean, just before we sat down, I just was putting out a fire. I mean,
exactly.
I'd be honest with you.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
I guess one of the biggest learning experiences that we've had is learning what it takes to open something from the ground up. This is our first time, doing a project like this. We've always worked for somebody else and like worked their vision, and you kind of have this like safety net of like if things go wrong, well, I'm just the chef or just the cook or just the sous chef.
It hits differently.
It hits differently when it's your key in the door and shit, like there might be a winter storm coming, the power went out, it's who knows when it's gonna come back, the water is coming out from all the
Wi-Fi's
drains.
not
Like the
working.
Wi-Fi's not
Yeah.
working. The POS went down.
Exactly.
Every day there's
Yep.
something, but I think the biggest thing is kind of like, how do you react to those things and those challenges? It's kind of like, okay, we have this issue. How can we correct it, and how can we keep the lights on or keep going?
Yeah.
Or hey, there might be a pause. It's okay, but
Yeah.
let's like pause, think of what we're gonna do. So it's a
Exactly.
lot about putting out fires
Yeah.
and just
Problem solving.
problem solving.
Yep,
Exactly. That's the word I was looking
Yeah.
for.
Just
but
to go back to the, and not to say that we hit no challenges before we became real to have our own spot. That's not what we're saying, but just we knew without any doubt what it would take the second the door opened.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And as we hit 3 years in July, opening the Plancha, we didn't lose any sleep over, and knew that when the restaurant door opened, we felt we were like ready to rock and roll. Again, to Maria's point, there's still daily fires like
Yeah.
anything else, but probably just that 8 to 9, 10 months after we were great and fortunate enough to be able to sign a lease and have a spot, be here in East Austin, and just leading up to the open date, there's a lot of things that you're out of your control. We didn't deal with direct permits from the city of Austin. Turns out that's not great to do.
Yeah.
FYI.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
we also opened in a weird time where
we
like
did.
COVID,
Post-COVID, yeah.
post-COVID,
Yep.
It's just so
It was
tough. So
weird.
things, from supply chain issues, and just and probably just the mental piece was challenging.
Dude,
There
come
was
on.
days
Yep.
I tell people this before. There was days that if we could just get an email back to us, then we were happy with that because that's where the growth was. And you just don't know that until you go through that.
Yep.
And it challenges you different ways. It challenges you from seeing where you thought you were going to be financially, from a mental standpoint, to man, I just want to get there and start cooking. I want to get people going. So that was probably the biggest in our minds. Not that as we just finished, as we approached 3 years, hasn't been challenging. It definitely is, but at least from Julian and Mariha standpoint, that was, of course, previous jobs and whatnot, still challenging.
Originality, right? Authenticity, sticking to your brand.
Yeah,
It's a
the
big piece for us.
authenticity
Yeah.
word. That I guess that has been
That word's weird to us.
Yeah.
I guess a thing,
Yeah.
especially our first year of opening. We we had some negative feedback, I will say, and I think part of it was maybe we didn't necessarily do our due diligence of putting the face behind the concept. I didn't really put myself out there.
Yep.
I am not a really social media gal. I'm like, I stayed in the area of like, you post a selfie or like what you're eating with a filter,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah.
And that's where I stayed.
Yeah.
I'm evolving now, but we didn't take that route of like, hey, this is Mariha, this is me, this is what I do. It's more kind of like, this is La Plancha. And the feedback that we were getting was that we were gentrified food,
This is wild to us.
whitewashed food.
Two minorities owning a business.
Yeah.
Like it's not authentic, it's not traditional.
Yeah.
Like stay true to your roots.
Yep.
Like you're not even Mexican, and I'm just like, dang it, like. What
Dang.
the fuck? Like
Yeah.
my valley
Dude,
came
I-
out.
I've had-
I was
Yeah.
like, y'all don't even know
I've
how
had a few
Mexican
people
I am.
say that to me on social, and it's like, call me white and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Man.
have y'all seen Memphis?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
they would call me negro as a
Yeah.
Mexican. It's
Yeah.
like that was my
Like
nickname
morenito,
growing-
yeah,
moreno, and all
moreno,
those names,
yeah.
right? So it's like, but the reason I asked that is mainly because farm to table,
Yeah.
right? I feel like when people hear, or because again, I come from the coffee world.
Yeah.
When people hear something like organic fair trade or green bean organic or something like that, it's buzzwords, but they don't really know what it means, right?
Yeah.
So I would have to describe to go, no, this is fair trade, this is organic, this is what this means, this and that. Like being a farm to table, where did that
Mexican.
come from? Where did that all originate from? Was that from the schooling? And,
Yeah. So I got a bachelor's degree from the Culinary Institute of America, and I did my concentration in farm to table studies, where I spent a semester in the St. Helena campus, and basically we farmed during the week.
No way.
So it was a program that started, and
Wow.
I think my class was the third group to be part of that program.
Okay.
It was led by Chef Larry Forgione. He is considered the godfather of American cuisine, New American
Really?
cuisine, like Alice Waters. that Cali type food. So we would farm and cultivate during the week, and whatever we harvested, we would create a tasting menu out of. So it was really fun, really creative, working with like California produce, and like it was such an eye opener. And to me, I was like, oh my God, this is kind of like back home, like in El Rancho, like where I'm from in Trevino, like, I'm sorry, but when I was a little girl, I used to watch like my grandpa like with a machete with a goat, and like you would see blood, like that was as farm to table as it got.
You open the wrong pot, there's a pig head in it.
A pig head in it, or like, you want to go get ice cream in the freezer, but there's a goat head there too.
Yeah, cabritos
everywhere. But yeah,
it's a real thing.
I made that connection of like, okay, like here, this is a movement, it's a lifestyle. I kind of overwhelmed myself with all of that knowledge, and I'm like, oh my God, sustainability. I gotta get rid of everything I know about and like start fresh. And I was like, okay, like rewind little by little. So I kind of, well, you know me, all or nothing.
Sorry.
So I kind of adapted that mentality, and I apply it as much as I can through my life. And I always said that if I ever had a restaurant as a chef, I feel like the responsibility to feed people ingredients that I eat.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That I feed myself or my family, and it's like if I'm aware that industrialized meat is not the greatest, then why am I gonna sell it to somebody to make a profit? So to me, it was like, yes, I'm gonna be selling my food maybe $2-3 more than whoever, but you're gonna be eating clean. I'm not saying my food's healthy. I'm not saying it's good for you. It's comfort food. It's Mexican food. But it's more like that conscientious eating.
We just our biggest thing is we're lucky enough to serve our guests and have them come in and try the plancha. We wanted people to have food that they really enjoyed, but they didn't feel bad after they eat it.
Exactly.
And that was the whole thing. There's something about going to a place and experiencing a good time, but also that 2 hours later not feeling bad after you ate it. So we want to serve beef that's raised the right way. We want to serve pigs that are raised the correct way and they come from Iowa. It's important for us to use fresh vegetables and so on and so forth. And I'm not saying we're different than many other restaurants, because in our mind you should be doing that anyway.
Exactly.
But that was a huge piece. If we ever got to have something of our own that we felt good preparing it, and our guests felt good eating it.
Well, and it's also, man, and you talk about we're $2-3 more. Yeah. I mean, you go to some fast food restaurants nowadays, like a McDonald's or something like that, you're paying probably more than what you, right? So, and that was something that I told my friends before too. It's like
Big Mac is like $14.
Yeah, it's like, why am I going to go somewhere where, I know it's not going to be the best. I know it's going to be artificial and all these kind of things, when I can go down the street and there's like a barbecue restaurant, and it's like their ground beef is the steaks and the briskets and the XYZ that they didn't use or they have from an animal that they could then repurpose. And same thing with the food. And we're the same way. My wife is, has her own little garden. She likes to cook the things that we're eating and all that. Yeah. And that's where, again, I think so many people think farm to table. Well, no, duh. I'm eating animals that were raised on a farm, and I'm eating it on my table. Isn't it the same? Yeah. But there's a big difference from the methodology and the process, and even the ethic behind the farm to table.
How they kill the animal and everything.
What they eat to raise them.
That, and I think there's also like a connotation where people always perceive Mexican food as very inexpensive and something that can get really fast and cheap. Yeah. Maybe Texas is not like has that mentality as the rest of the United States, but I definitely do feel like, that Mexican food is considered fast and cheap and everything. And it's like, actually, it's quite opposite of that. It's actually very labor intensive. The ingredients are not cheap. Like if you're doing everything from scratch. So,
So then, and you were talking about social media earlier also, it's like, how has social media contributed to the business? And I know, to a lot of people, I am lucky that I kind of fell into it. It wasn't something I was going to pursue. But like I said, once I started getting to cameras and all that kind of stuff, that was the route that I saw. Like I didn't have any formal training in it. I'm educated by YouTube. Shout out. So it's one of those where it's like, when it came to cameras and all this kind of stuff, social media was the only outlet I had. So that's why I was more of like the guru in it, because that's all I knew. So then I've ran into so many restaurant owners, so many businesses, so many XYZ where it's like, man, same way, right? You take a picture, put a filter on it. Why isn't it working? This and that. Or, you know, you do this on your phone or you use this. And it was just kind of like, that's the mindset. But I love just seeing how so many people have been using social media lately and just evolving with it and using it in their own ways. Yeah. So how has social media contributed to you guys in the business?
I think it's helped us a lot.
Yeah.
It's been...
When we first opened, you know, still now, but like, just from our understanding, you know, we're the only spot that's it's primarily tortas. We do other things, but so that was really new to the audience, especially when we first opened. I think it's still new because people still don't know necessarily what La Plancha is just yet. Hopefully that changes. Appreciate that. And so social media still today, but even specifically when we first opened, was just crucial to our little bit of early success that we've had because it's how people are like, wow, you don't see that every day, especially from a torta standpoint, right? And you know, we haven't gotten to it yet, but one piece that was important to us for the concept when we wanted to bring tortas to life, we wanted to share Mariha's food and what she creates from a torta standpoint, right? Is why, one, there's so many different ingredients in a torta, things of torta, right? Number one, so it gives her more room to be as creative as she is and create that sandwich, if you will. But also, they film so well, you know, and to watching a reel or two on Instagram and seeing how we prepare a torta, it's cool to the eye. So that was super impactful. And one reason why we thought tortas were the route that we really wanted to bring to the city and bring to East Austin is we thought they were underappreciated. We thought I remember, you know, when we started the concept, and you know, I remember googling years ago, and not that this is no shot to anybody that does tortas already, or there's a couple OGs out there that have been doing it, maybe that people didn't know about, but you know, there was like not a defined spot that felt like, hey, this is the go-to torta spot. And we're not here to say that we are yet, but
it's a great sandwich city.
It is.
I was gonna say, like for me, a torta is great, especially like East Austin. A grab and go, you can eat it, you don't eat it. It's not a sit down food. It's something that, you know, and you eat all of it. Like scoop it with the bread. Like to me, and I'm with you, it's it seemed more as like something else on the menu. So
you go to a taco truck, if you're talking to somebody on the left.
Tortas are always there.
So we just wanted to bring that love that we have with sandwiches, don't get me wrong.
And kind of just show what they can be. You know, I think like a torta, it's like a taco. It can be anything. The fillings are endless. It's not just your traditional like jamón, lechuga, tomate, aguacate, queso, cebolla, mayonesa.
That could be a song right there. That could be a song. That was good.
Like you're in the ice cream truck.
I love this.
Exactly.
But yeah, you know, so we just wanted to have fun with them. We have some that are lean toward the traditional side. We have some that are kind of out there that it's like, is that even a torta? But it's like, yes, it's a torta.
We wanted them to have their own personality.
Exactly.
That was a huge piece of the designing of the concept. And you know, back to the point, sometimes people love that we have that. Some people didn't love that, you know, for your traditional, you know, Mariha can tell you more about that, but, you know, that's been our feedback that people like, you know, there's one homage to me from being from Buffalo. There's one, it's called the Hot Chick. You know, it's a fried chicken torta. You know,
with a little sauce, but like with Mexicano.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of my personal favorites, right? But that's crazy. People might be like, "What's that? That's chicken sandwich." But no, that's our chicken torta. You know? So,
and I think that's also, you know, the thing that I've loved so much about just Austin is, despite the hate and all the stupid people on social media want to talk crap and all that. There is so much freedom to try what you want to try. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing that I've enjoyed. Just, you know, I love putting out the negativity. I'm just like, get the hell away from me, because I get to meet people in Austin and have these conversations. And 9 times out of 10 is people saying, I did not feel like, because that's the way I felt too in Brownsville. I didn't feel like I can grow there. I didn't feel like there was any real opportunities for me. I wanted them and I chased them, but Brownsville sometimes there's
a cap.
Certain places just either who you know, or if people don't like you, you're not going to get it. Or if you're not a kiss ass, you're not going to get the positions. And for me, I'm like, I'm a hard worker.
That's similar to me, Buffalo.
It's like, for me, I'm a hard worker. And that's why you should hire me, pay me X, Y, Z. And that's, or sometimes it's the crab in the bucket, you know, people just don't want to see you succeed. So for me, it was just like, man, I needed to get out
Out
to
of there.
actually pursue something that I wanted.
Well said.
And so many people I meet in Austin are that way. It's like I
Yeah.
just couldn't flourish in my place.
Yep.
Came to Austin, and the fertile here allowed me to become who I am.
Spot on.
So that's where for me, I'm like, hey guys, say what you want to say about Austin, but there's something here that's really beautiful that attracts all these people. Whether or not you like them, that's up to you.
Right.
Maybe it's you and not even them.
Yeah.
So looking at some place and exactly what you guys are talking about, right? Like we're taking a little piece of our tradition and merging that and, just intertwining that. That's Austin,
Together,
right? That,
yeah.
it's like that's what we love. And even that's relationships, right? My wife isn't Mexican,
Yeah.
right? Your husband, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
Nope.
the whole flavor behind America, right? And what we're for is merging of things
No
and
doubt.
combining. And so that's where I
Building community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where when I, experiencing things in Austin, it's just more of like, this may have never existed, right? And the
Yeah.
fact that it exists now is the reason why we should try it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm somebody like I'm thankful for my wife because my palate is horrible. I like pizza, burgers, tacos, right? That's the way I was.
You're talking to me. Yeah.
But my
yeah.
wife was, her parents
Yeah.
are chefs and bakers,
Oh, wow.
so
Okay.
she was always kind of like wanting to try new stuff, go to new places, and I was just like, so she's the foodie, I'm not.
Yeah.
But she also knew my palate.
Yeah.
So even though I didn't want to try certain food, she's like, oh no, you'll like this because it was spicy.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
so
got it,
then
okay.
so then I was like, oh, maybe I do like
Yeah.
sushi. Maybe I do
Yeah.
like barbecue because
Yeah.
I didn't like barbecue before I moved to Austin.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of these
Yeah.
things. I was like, this was my small town mind
Mm-hmm.
thinking, I just like this. But as I opened it up and tried new things, it ended up being something like my kids now.
Yeah.
Man, they're eaters.
Yeah.
Okay.
They would
That's
try
awesome.
anything. What do you?
That's-
Yeah, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom,
That's
and it's
cool.
like that's how it should be. Because as somebody, especially when you get into life and culture and business and all that, it should be something that is scientific.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, how does bitter mix with sweet?
Sure.
Oh, how does citrusy mix? Right?
Yeah.
Or it could be like, how does this light work with this light? Or how
Mm-hmm.
does this angle go with that angle? It's like, so once you learn that from somewhere, to me, food is a great place to learn it with.
Yeah.
Then you get to apply that in everything in life,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, it doesn't need to be a stale, stagnant thing. There should be flavorful
Absolutely.
and art and all this. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I come from. Is as an artist, there should be art in everything. And if it's
Well said.
bland, sure, hey, maybe
Yeah.
that's the way it should be.
Sometimes art's
But
bland.
why
Yeah.
not spice it up
Spice
a bit?
it
Why
up,
not do this?
Add a little spice.
With Austin, with the growth, with all the craziness that goes on, everybody's moving in, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Where do y'all see this going in the next 5 to 10 years? Like I know that, this is a great location first of all because it's
Appreciate
like again East Austin,
Yeah.
like such a
Thank you,
hubbub
yeah.
of just like so many cool creative things.
Second we drove up to it, we loved it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everything's walkable. You can
Yeah.
you hop on a scooter ride.
Yeah.
Is there an idea of just like enlarging it? I know even with the farm to table idea, is there something where you guys want to do more of a bigger restaurant thing? So
Mm-hmm.
like what does it look like? Not even just menu wise, if you guys want to talk about that too, anything you're playing around with, but
Yeah.
just like longevity, and what is the prediction for the next 5-10 years?
I think longevity, we would love to have a bigger place.
Yeah.
Where we could have more seating, still the same concept, still
for sure.
probably have some sort of counter
Yep. Yeah.
service where you can watch us
Yep.
make your tortas.
Which is very authentic, right? Like,
Yes.
Again,
Yeah,
people,
but-
people
Yeah,
want to
thank
talk
you,
crap
yeah.
about the authenticity.
We
but it's
appreciate
like,
that, yeah.
You go to Mexico, like I
Uh-huh.
I don't know how many times I've been to Progreso and all these places, and it's like this is a traditional
Yeah.
thing
No
when
doubt.
it comes to
Yeah.
Mexico cuisine.
That's what we were thinking when we did it. So we appreciate you saying that.
I'm like, do you know Gorditas Doña Tota?
Yeah.
It's like you just go at the counter and you tell La Señora, hey, I want this, and this, and it's the honor system.
Yep.
You don't even pay until after you're done. And
That's-
they ask
yeah.
you how many gorditas you have, and you
Which
say the truth.
people
I
find
have
wild.
4.
Wild, yeah.
People, and it's like, oh, okay, and what did you have, and what did you drink? And it's like, when I took my wife in Brownsville, they told
Yeah.
me some of that. She's
Yeah.
just like,
So you
they didn't have a,
What?
they
Yeah.
didn't have a tab, they didn't
Yeah.
take your card, and it's like, why? We
Yeah.
know each other.
Yeah.
No,
So yeah, probably still have that essence of this. Definitely, we would like a larger space in the next 5 to 10 years. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And honestly, just be a part of Austin, be a part of the community. we love our city. We've been here for almost 10 years. We continue to see ourselves becoming even more part of a community and start our family here. And we just want to build something that sustains us, sustains our community, and nothing crazy. You know, we're not trying to be multi-million dollar people. No, absolutely not.
We just want to serve good sandwiches.
We're just trying to serve good sandwiches, sustain ourselves, live a good life, and make good food and feed people. Like,
to Maria's point, 5'10". There's no doubt we'd love to be in a bigger place at that point. You know, for the next 3 to 5 though, we're very committed to the east side of Austin. You know, we think that we hope to be part of that continued growth that's over here. And so we're looking forward to the shorter term goal of really maximizing this space specifically, this area, being part of the community. You know,
maybe doing some like pop-ups
so there's
of
that's part of
comidas
it.
Corridas or something like that.
We have some things we're really thinking about. There's you know, as you know, as we approach 3 years, come the summer, without a doubt, concentrated on just making sure that we delivered every single day. But now we just think that we're going to start to unwrap some other things that we can do. Just not in this space, but maybe other spaces. And we have more that we want to show the community and show that what this team, specifically Mariha, me supporting her, can do.
And I feel like that's the wise way to go, right? It's like, you know, my son's named Jordan after Michael Jordan.
Okay,
and
cool.
the thing I've always
your brother's name.
My brother,
I was gonna say the one thing I've always loved about Michael Jordan was, or even someone like a Kobe Bryant. Is
RP,
that
shout out,
I know, shout out. But that they were more interested in the long game, right? It was. I may not be the scoring champion and this and that, but they got there, right? And I think sometimes I know what tends to happen is, and my wife, you know, tells me this all the time because this is the way I am. Like, I just try to take a really big bite out of life. And sometimes I get really discouraged because I wasn't able to get the whole bite. And I forget, hey, you still took a bite, right?
Well said.
Right? And there's sometimes where I look at the big picture and I don't see the little achievements. And lately that's kind of been what I've been practicing. It's like look at the small steps. Because
that's where he comes in for me. I'm the big bite. And then I'm like, what? And then he's like, hey.
Just recently we closed up 24 and took over the year and we plan to do 25 and you know, all these things that we want to accomplish, all these things we want to do, and we constantly have conversations like, let's just knock these 3, 4, 5 things out and see how they parlay us to the next step. And that's one thing that showed us, you know, as we've been in the space, we've been here. Things don't happen overnight. This restaurant didn't didn't happen overnight. Sorry, my delivery here. Okay, sorry. Sorry. And it's showed us and trained us, our mindset, in my mind, we're still working every day, but let things come to you a little bit more. But the idea is to be focused on what you're working towards, you know. So
and letting things happen too. Kind of like when you're too in control or like controlling every single aspect of everything. Sometimes you even prevent things from flowing the way they should. So sometimes it's being able to say like, hey, okay, I need to step back, chill a little bit, let things flow, and see. And you know, applying that, you can see right away like, wow, I need to.
Another one of my greats, Bruce Lee. Be water, right?
Be
water. Fluid. That's well.
Fluid
Let's not forget that quote. It's a good quote. No, it's true.
Well, and that's where, you know, again, like as a business owner myself, those are the things. And you kind of said this earlier. One of the hardest things, or one of the things you really need for this, is a good mindset.
You have to.
And you know, one of the things that I've talked to so many people about is just like looking at failure as. You know, and you kind of said this too earlier when I asked that question, was like, you called it a learning process. And I think that's the way we should be seen. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you're 5 years old, 15, 50, or whatever. It's when you encounter failure, when you encounter struggle, when you encounter hardship, you don't take that and say, oh, no, that means I can't do it. Again, going back to Jordan, something I have written in my office is Michael Jordan missed 80% of the game-winning shots that he took. Which means he only made 20% of those game-winning shots that he took.
Well, people consider him the best closer ever.
Exactly. Exactly. Which means he wasn't
that great
statistically the best closer ever.
Took a lot. Though. It took a lot.
Which goes to that Wayne Gretzcy quote, right? It's like you miss 100% of shots you don't take. So if you're failing, it doesn't mean that you're a failure.
Yeah.
It means that that path that you thought was going to be it isn't it.
Isn't it?
Try another
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Try another way and go this way, go that way. And that's where I've just really enjoyed the, which is kind of weird to say out loud, but I've enjoyed the journey of an entrepreneur because it is something where it's like, it tests you.
Yeah.
It hits you and you're like, are you going to get up? Are you going to get
Yeah.
up?
See,
Because if you don't get up, it just shows you didn't want it that.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're telling yourself, but I really wanted it, it's like,
Yeah.
well, then get up
Up
and
and
do
go
it again.
do it.
We appreciate using that word entrepreneur. That's that's one thing in our household we'll throw out. When we talk about what's next or what's up, and I say, well, that's entrepreneur life,
Yep.
and she'll kind of roll her eyes when I say it, but that
was
was true. We are entrepreneurs.
He's my reality.
Dude,
check.
that's what my wife would call me that, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, shut up.
And
Yeah.
And she's just like, that's what you're doing.
And anybody that's watched us that thrives to be one, it is a lot of up and down. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of positives in it too, and that's more than anything is why I feel so blessed, is because we get to live that every single day.
1000%.
And that shouldn't get that ever to get taken for granted. We're so grateful to be in that space, to be entrepreneurs.
And for it to be a family business to hand down like that.
Yeah,
I know,
that's a huge. That's the big
Yeah.
time goal. We don't talk about
I
too much,
think-
but yeah, that would be a
I guess
huge low.
that's
Yeah,
the ultimate goal. Yeah.
no doubt. Everybody wants that.
My
Yeah.
son, my mom just got my son a little camera for kids,
that's
and it
cool.
takes
Oh, man,
it does
that's
take
awesome.
actual pictures, but they're not the best.
Yeah.
And so my son will be doing that now. He's like, Mom, Dad, and
Yeah.
again, he's 3 years old, so it's kind of funny him seeing dude. And my wife, and then he has sticker tattoos on him
Yeah.
and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And so my wife is always reminding me, like, hey, he's like looking at you.
He's all in
Looking at
already.
you.
right?
Like tattoos and
and
everything.
so for me,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, kind of, I've been, as you grow up, you realize you're really selfish at things. And so part of me was just kind of like, man, I'm so selfish that I thought this photography, video business was about me when it could not even be about me. What if this is something that is a passion, right? We talk about our family and our friends and people who impacted us in a certain way of life that now put us down the path that we're on. What if my passion for cameras wasn't even about me, but it was about him?
Yeah.
And I was just given this passion as a torch to pass to him.
No doubt.
And so I've been, that's been reframing a lot of my entrepreneurship journey, because then it's like, oh shit, so what happens if I die tomorrow? Is this something that I'm going to leave
Well,
for
carry
him?
on. Yeah.
So then when it comes to a lot of this stuff and the cameras and making more content, it's like, well, I want to make the kind of stuff I would want him to watch that leads him down that right path, right? And my other son as well. So that's where, if even being a family business. And I would say the other thing I love about hospitality is seeing families grow up, right?
Yeah.
When your customers become family,
Yeah.
that tends to be the best as well, because you see
Yeah.
them, oh, you guys are single. Oh, you're getting married. Congrats. Oh, you're having a baby. Oh, look,
Yeah.
they're 2 or 3.
Or you're
Yeah.
Oh,
running
wow.
college and,
There's credit to that. I mean,
Dude.
there's times, either an event happened, or I've told Maria, hey, maybe we should open at 10, and she goes, no, we can't. I have regulars that
No,
come in at
because
9.
I know
Yep.
who's coming
Yep.
right at 9,
And
and even if it's only 4 people, I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't understand. I have this family that it's a couple, and they have young daughters like in college and high school, and they come religiously every Saturday between 9 a.m. and 9:30.
Shout out Ken.
And they tell me that my breakfast tacos is what gets them through the week.
That's
There you
awesome.
go.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I have a responsibility to feed these people,
Yeah.
so I have to show up.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, but like let's rest, or like you need to rest. I'm like, no, like I have to serve these people. Like I care about them,
Regulars are the base of a business,
Yeah.
especially
Exactly.
restaurants. So
Exactly.
take that seriously more than anything.
Yeah.
I've said it probably 3 times in this session. It's the community that we wanted to build.
Exactly.
It's the community that we want to be part of.
Yep.
It's the community that we wanted to take place at our own place.
Or it's like, we ran out of this, and it's like, okay, well, no one orders it. I'm like, no, but there's one person
Yeah,
exactly.
that if they come this week, they're gonna want it, and you have to have it. So it's like you go out of your way to cater to one person because, hey,
Well,
it's like,
and again, even going back to what you're saying about your grandmother, right? It's like uncles and people would drop by, and it's just like there's a plate ready for them,
yes,
right? And
yeah,
and,
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and that's the thing that again, growing up, in that kind of Mexican household where I think the Mexican household is very it's like a matriarch, right? It's, women run the Mexican household,
Yes.
whether or not the men think it.
Yeah.
It's
No,
true.
it's true. Yeah.
And I tell my wife that too. I'm like, look, behind every good man, it's true. There's a strong woman, and
fact.
so when I would see my grandma do that, right? that infected me even in the coffee shop, because when I would see, you know, customers at the end of the line, even though they're at the end of the line, man, I'm getting their drink ready. So when they pay, they can go walk out. Why? Because I know them and I know their schedule and I know how they're busy they are. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to love every customer the same, but exactly how you said, the regulars are what make you who you are, because they're the ones coming in, giving you that energy and seeing how you are, asking you the questions, involved in your lives. And I love that, right? Like, you go out of your way for your regulars because you know them that well.
No, yes,
and you cannot do that unless you know your city, love your city, and you're ingrained in your city.
Yeah, it's like you care for them as they care for you. So it's, you know, it goes both ways.
So, is there anything you guys would like to say about it? You know, this is it. I mean, I know we've talked a lot, but I think it's been really good, especially with, again, being a newer spot, still, you know, being in the east side of Austin. I think, like I said, every time we come here, food is great. My kids love it. My wife loves it. Like, again, anytime I can get good Mexican food, I'm going to do it, you know? And so I just really, one of my desires for doing this is to really put the spotlight and the highlight on the people who deserve it, right? Like, Austin magazines and, you know, the XYZ famous people are going to highlight the spots that they're going to highlight because they're famous and this and that. But to me, what makes Austin is the people. And if you don't know that, then you don't really know Austin.
That's spot on.
Yeah, and that's where so much of me, you know, when people talk crap about Austin, I'm like, well, it's because you're not going to the spots. Yeah. You're not talking to the people. You're having the upper experience, and you think, oh, whatever, this sucks or whatever it is.
I've been here before.
Dude, I've had people say, I can't get a good bite of food at 10 a.m. I'm like, do you know how many spots are open at that time? What are you talking about? Oh, it's so boring. I'm like, I think it's you. I'm like, because you're telling me you can't find good food and it's boring in Austin. That's you. And so,
did you not use Google?
Yeah, that's right. Do you not have a smartphone? But it is one of those things where it's like, I just want to, you know, like I said, being an underdog and being somebody who has always been overlooked. That frustrates me, because the people who get the notoriety like expect it sometimes, right? And they're shocked when it's like, oh, why didn't I get this spot in a magazine, whatever it is. But for me, it's like highlighting the places that deserve it, showing the real nitty gritty, right? The back of house, what it looks like, and what the people are like, right? It's one thing to try the food, but one thing my mom always taught me, or not my mom. One thing my grandma always taught me was that your passion goes in your food. Your feelings and your emotions go in your food.
100%.
So again, when I'm making tortillas with her and she has the corridos on and, you know, the Tejano music and Selena, you're going to eat good. You're going to eat good. When you know she just had an argument with the grandpa, don't try that salsa.
No,
that thing's going to burn your face.
Right?
And so when people say, oh, go to this spot because the food's good, go to this spot because the food's good, I'm like, it's probably good because the people are happy. And they know and they take this serious. So don't overlook the good food and miss the people behind it.
Wow, that was awesome. No, my last piece I would say is just we just want to continue to bring all types of people in the doors. We want to be able to host them by serving great food.
So you're saying just because it's Mexican food is not for Mexicans?
No, absolutely not.
That's
the whole idea of the menu.
You know, there's always this thing of like, like as a chef, it's just like cook what you like or whatever. I think, yes, as chefs, we are very we have a big ego, because at the end of the day, you're creating something and it gets praised or whatever. But I think there's something to be said about not cooking just what you want to cook, and it's cooking for the people. So I'm not catering to one demographic. I'm not catering just to Mexicans, Americans, whites, blacks, Asians. I'm catering to everybody. I'm not a vegan trained, but I have some knowledge on vegan food. So there's a couple of vegan dishes that we created because I know there's an audience here that it's going to want that. And vegan people, it can be from any background too. There's a lot of people that eat vegetarian.
A lot of Mexican food is vegetarian. That's what
exactly.
For me. I'm just like, what are you talking? That's good.
Vegetables are vegan. So we get all kinds of people, from students to like Asian, Black, Indian American, every ethnicity, culture.
Someone asked what your age gap. I mean, what your demographic was. It'd be hard for us to say it. But that was the whole idea. You know, call that the smartest plan or not. That was what we wanted to create. We didn't want to just put us in one bubble. That was
Definitely a Mexican restaurant.
no doubt,
but
no doubt.
we are also catering to
The masses.
the masses.
Well, and also that's the important part of it, having a chef, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a cook. It's not
Yeah.
just somebody who it's like, oh yeah, everything tastes the same. It's a chef is somebody who can take the craft and make it their own, but also evolve with their customers. So
Without
it's
a
like,
doubt.
yeah, maybe you don't want it as citrusy and you're learning the flavors because there's multi-demographics here.
Yeah.
And so you get to pivot and move. And you know, again, those are the things that people don't notice. And it's like such a crucial thing when it comes to food because it's
Yeah.
like, if you go somewhere and you know you want to switch the menu up or you want to ask for this or that, it's like if the person in the back can't do it, you lost a customer.
That's true.
I think we went to a really fancy restaurant
Recently.
about 6-8 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't want to name it, but they had pizza.
Off record.
Off record, but they had pizza, and I think we requested to add ricotta,
Yeah.
and they flat out said no because the kitchen would be upset. And I'm like, I understand that, but I'm also like, probably not gonna come back.
Yep.
I like ricotta and pizza. Okay?
I like
Yeah.
ricotta
Yeah.
pizza, and like, hey, just
Exactly.
Yeah.
and you know, we're like happy to pay for it and everything, but it's kind of like those things where it's a fine line where you say yes to a customer or where you say no, but we take the approach of like, hey,
You're nothing without
we
the
will
people.
bend it over backwards for you.
Yep.
If this
Yep.
is what you want, we'll do
Well,
it.
and,
yeah.
and that's, you know, for me, that's kind of why I do photo, video, and drones and 360 and all that because it's
Yeah.
like when my clients ask for something, I'm not going to say no.
No.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I like if this is something you want, I'm going to help you get there. If I don't know how to do it right now, I'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like that again. It's a sign of a great business because it's like, hey, we're not going to stay stagnant. We're
No.
going to evolve. We're going to
Yeah.
move. We're going to this. We're going to that. Because exactly what you said earlier, sometimes the one thing doesn't work and you do have to pivot. You do have
Right.
to move. And those are the things that you learn when starting a business. And I feel like, you know, you guys being 3 years in, it's like, I can't wait to see the 5, the 10, you know,
Yeah.
the opening up multiple spots, the
Yeah.
having the this and having the that. Because it, you know, again, the one thing I love is just seeing people succeed.
Yeah.
And so I'm the kind of person, it's like, you know, I don't care if people say, oh yeah, because of this or what. I'm
Yeah.
like, as long as you're succeeding, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
And for me, we need more people like that. And so again, when I meet people like that, when I see people who have a passion for what they do, it's like, man, like let's spread that word.
Yeah.
Let's show people that you can actually follow your heart and do what you love. And it's going to be hard work,
Yeah.
but if you really
No
love
doubt.
it, invest in it, put your time in it. It's not going to be easy, but that's what makes it beautiful, right?
If
the fact
I-
that nobody else
yeah.
is going to do it.
Yeah, no, if I had listened to people in my career like tell me you shouldn't, no, it's not for you, what are you doing, I would not be here today because my whole life has been no. It's like, okay, I'm still gonna do
Yeah.
me, like whether there's a stigma for like Mexican American women, like, you know, and or whatever it is,
Yeah.
it was kind of like, no, I'm taking my own path.
Yep.
And it hasn't been easy by any means. Like it's been challenging. There's challenges every day
Yep.
in this industry,
We
but
just, we just look to try to be successful a little bit more every single day.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
One
one of our
of my
goals.
favorite quotes is, and I don't even know who said. I don't even know if it's a quote. I just heard it somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's if somebody tells you no one's ever done it, that's good because it means you could be the first.
Well said.
Oh.
That's
Right.
definitely a quote somewhere.
Right.
Who said
And,
it?
yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
so
good.
so
Yeah.
those are the things. Again, that's where my mindset is all the time. It's just like, all right, if it's hard and nobody, you know, there's only 5 people in the world that have ever done this. Well, great. There's gonna be number 6.
Yeah.
Six.
Right. If you're telling me nobody's ever done it, great. There's gonna be a number 1. Great. You're telling.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I love that, and that's one of the reasons why. Again, I want to put the spotlight on the people who have that ambition, have that desire, because I think that's something that we need to be spreading more of. So I just want to thank y'all so much for
Thank
Yeah,
you.
sitting
we-
down,
we-
talking.
We appreciate you taking the time
Yeah,
to connect
yeah.
with us. Or,
I'm gonna try a torta right now, so I'll
Yeah.
let you guys
Yeah.
know. I mean, I already know it's good.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna surprise myself.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But all right, well, thank
Right.
y'all so
Of course,
much.
yeah.
Again,
Thank
we'll put
you.
the Instagram links, everything else on the bottom of the description. So thank y'all for watching.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I
Until next
appreciate
time.
it. Hope to see you guys soon.
Bye.
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 Yeah.